Hi, this is your host, Kristen Howe. I'm so excited to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Dr. Rick Moss. Rick is the developer of precognitive re-education, which is a process to find and clear out the limiting beliefs and retained emotions that block access to the greatness of our inherent nature. Rick developed this work after teaching meditation for 20 years and realized that wholeness experience alone does not change subconscious patterns and by itself is not enough for transformation. On the call today with Rick, you'll discover how to experience a part of yourself that is the source of profound healing and transformation. You'll discover why you may not be manifesting what you think you want. You'll find out how to embrace an opportunity to heal old childhood pain. You'll find the person inside of you that is going to love you forever, and we'll explore the tremendous difference between love and like. So, Rick, I'm so excited to have you join us today. I just love your energy. Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the call.
Well, thank you, Kristen. I'm really excited about being here. This is such an important topic, both for our well-being personally and for the times. So
absolutely.
It's really important. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Oh, good. We are thrilled to have you here. And what I'd love to have you do is share with us a bit of, your story. How did you get here? How has manifestation affected and worked in your life? Just give us an idea of who you are.
That would be my pleasure. I guess the story starts with problems. I was living in a spiritual community outside of Austin, Texas. I had been teaching meditation for 20 years, and I fully believed and taught with great gusto and passion that if one just transcended, if one just entered into that level of pure consciousness, that everything in my life and everyone else's life would change for the good. And after about 20 years of teaching this, I realized that, wait a minute, here I have really bad food allergies. I have candida. In fact, I had candida so badly that for years I was saying, I can't eat it. I can't eat it. And my son Daniel, who was probably about 7 at the time, came up, tugged on my sleeve and said, Dad, do you still have can't eat it? So candida became can't eat it in our household. And I really had can't eat it. And so I had food allergies, can't eat it. And I was not in a emotionally intimate relationship. It was a relationship really to bring meditation to the world, but I thought I really wanted a depth that wasn't available and I didn't seem to be able to achieve. And I had no personal relationship with God. So I had to say, oh my God, if my intent is really to live authentically, to live from my true self, these elements are not facilitating that, and something's in the way, and meditation alone is not going to do it. I had spent 9 months doing the advanced work in Switzerland, and so here I was with a family now and a mortgage, and I wasn't able to go away for another 9 months. So I had to do something new. And actually it was pretty scary because my whole life was tied up in that community. And yet I knew I was willing to do whatever it took to live authentically. And so when I said that out loud to God, to the universe, something marvelous happened. Someone showed up in my life who taught 2 or 3 things that were extremely profound, that were to really set my life on a completely new path. And the first was that they had a deep understanding of the subconscious. And if you've studied in the Indian tradition, which I had for many years, the subconscious is sort of ignored and poo-pooed in that tradition. My teacher would say, why do you want to look at the dust that you're kicking up? Just sweep out the floor and sweep it out the door. You don't have to pay attention to the dust, which was the subconscious thoughts. And so that's what I did. But it didn't work. So here were these patterns. here was an understanding, and here's the bottom line to that understanding. What he taught that is so relevant to every one of us is this. If you want to see what you want, look at what you've got. And this is the idea of manifestation that we're going to look at today. And that is that there are two sources of manifestation. There is this subconscious engine of manifestation. And then there is this soul level, essence level, whole-minded level of manifestation. And it is the soul level manifestation that really pulls to us what our soul wants, what really fulfills us in life. So that was quite an awakening for me. And the second part of that teaching was about something called psychokinesiology. And in psychokinesiology, we put our arm out and we push down on the arm and we say something true, like 1 and 1 is 2. And lo and behold, of course, the arm is strong. And then we'll say something untrue, like 1 and 1 is 3. And when we push down on the arm with the same amount of pressure, the arm weakens, the deltoid muscle releases. And suddenly what we're experiencing is truth makes us strong and untruth makes us weak. So I said to this teacher, yeah, I really want an intimate relationship. And so using muscle testing, he said, okay, well, say I want an intimate relationship. No problem. I want an intimate relationship. And bam, my arm goes straight down as if I'd spoken an untruth. And I go, wait a minute. I know I want an intimate relationship. He said, fine. Say I think I want an intimate relationship. Boom, my arm is really strong. I really think that I do want that. And now say, I feel I want an intimate relationship. Boom, my arm goes right down. And I go, wait a minute, what is this? Why don't I want what I think I want? And he said, well, what was intimacy like for you with your parents? And I went, well, my dad wasn't around much and my mom was a successful artist. She was gone a lot of times, or she was in her studio and I couldn't connect with her. So when we were together, she probably felt very guilty and her energy was overwhelming and enmeshing. And I found intimacy being either abandonment or enmeshment. And so he said, well, that's what you still think it is. So the understanding that I came away with from that teaching was that the subconscious has no time sense in it. And so thinking that intimacy was overwhelming and enmeshing as a child wasn't stored in my subconscious as intimacy was overshadowing. It was stored in my subconscious as intimacy is overshadowing. And that led me to develop this process over the last 25 years of how to change the subconscious so we truly can get what we want instead of interfering with it. If we think that there are two engines of manifestation, there's the subconscious and then there's the whole mind, the soul level, the essence level. These two engines can be pulling in opposite directions. The work that I do helps people line up the engines so that we're moving in the direction of our intent, not pulling against ourselves. And one more thing to end this story of how I came upon this was that, so I started using muscle testing to find out what I could or couldn't eat because I still had all these food allergies and candida. And one day, my wife at the time was not around, and I said, well, there must be some way I can muscle test myself. And my neck went vigorously up and down. And I went, oh, this is great. Now I have food allergies and a tick. How wonderful. But what was to happen was not a tick, was I came into what I call a signal. So I can ask a question, and I can get a yes or no answer. And so in my case, my neck goes forward and back for yes, sideways for no. So I learned that I could use it not only for food, but I could use it to determine what thoughts were in the subconscious that were outpicturing as certain behaviors. I could use it for myself. I could use it for others. And then I could ask guidance, God, whatever word we're comfortable with, how do we eliminate those limiting beliefs? How do we clear out those retained emotions that make those limiting beliefs feel true? And when we do, we get to manifest, we get to create very differently.
First of all, I love how you're talking about soul level manifestation, because I think that's so powerful and so important. Can we talk about how powerful the subconscious is in the way we generate our reality and how we go about, because everybody's heard this. We all know, okay, it's all about the subconscious, but, can you give us your take on that?
I'd love to. It's one of my favorite questions to answer. The conscious mind, which is extremely important, and I'll come back to why it's so important, but it's what we think we want. It's how we use our will and our decision. Our conscious mind is really important. It processes about, that's usually 17 to 40 bits of information per second. So you're listening to this call, you're having a thought about it, maybe you're feeling cool in your environment or warm, you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. These are thoughts floating around in your conscious mind. And there may be 17 bits or 40 bits of information there. Our subconscious, at the same time, is processing between 17 and 40 million bits of information every second. Every conversation that we've ever had is stored in the subconscious and can be referred to for relevance to a present conversation. Here's a dramatic way to understand the power of the subconscious. You're walking down the street. You get a feeling that if you look to your left, there's a person that you may be interested in that might be attractive to you. You turn your head, you begin to glance. Before the image of that person can reach the back of your brain where it's actually received, before that maybe quarter of a second occurs or less, your subconscious has reviewed that male or female face, compared it to every face you've ever seen in your life, sorted for the faces that had the most dramatic impact on your life, and has already told you whether you're interested or not interested in that person before you've even seen him or her.
Wow. So suffice it to say, the subconscious is very, very important. How do we tap into the subconscious? How do we start using that to our benefit as opposed to, because I think a lot of people from the emails and questions that I get feel like, okay, so the subconscious is all important, but I feel kind of dictated by that because I have no idea how to go in and, sort of quote unquote fix what's broken in my subconscious.
Got it. So I like the idea of what I was taught those 24 years ago or 5 years ago. If you want to see what your subconscious is programmed to bring into reality, look at your life right now. So you start by looking at your life. Am I in relationship that is loving? All right. Well, maybe I'm not. Or maybe I think I want a loving relationship and I'm looking for it, but I keep attracting to myself people that are not capable of love. All right. So that's where we start. So we start looking at why I don't want a loving relationship, although I think I do. Now, one way that people can start to assess that if they have not developed a signal or internal dowsing or the pendulum ability is they can ask themselves, all right, let's say I get the most wonderful relationship in the world. What would be the downside? What would be the yeah, but? And so yeah, buts can start popping up like, yeah, but they'll leave me. Or, yeah, but I don't deserve it. They're going to find out I'm not very good, kind, lovable, successful. These kind of yeah, buts will start coming up from the subconscious. And then we need to address these limiting aspects of our egoic self. Because here's the bottom line to this. That subconscious, that repository of past experience is not who we are. It's who we think we are. The ego is not who we are. It's a self-created identity. We can go beyond the ego awareness of ourselves to our inherent and divine nature, where our goodness resides, where our godness resides. In my belief and understanding, we are this brilliant individuation of the divine. That is our true nature. This essential true nature is filled with such gifts, such wonder, such grace, such affluence, that what we have to do is get the limited aspect of ourself. Emerson calls it our bloated nothingness. We have to get that bloated nothingness, Emerson says, off of the divine circuits. The work that I do and the work that we'll actually do experientially today is the way of getting that resistance, that fear, that junk, that bloated nothingness off of those divine circuits, so that soul level manifestation can be brought about into reality. There's a beautiful poem. Could I share a short poem with you?
Sure, absolutely.
And our listeners. It's from Kabir, who lived in the late 1400s to early 1500s in India. He was a weaver by trade, and what he did was weave together all of the great teachings of his time into this profound, deep understanding. There is a spectacular book called Love Poems from God, translated by Daniel Ladinsky, and what Daniel has a gift for is taking these great pieces of literature and putting them in a modern idiom. This is a short poem by Kabir. It says, I would be glad. You are sitting in a wagon being drawn by a horse whose reins you hold. There are two inside of you who can steer, though most never hand the reins to me. So they go from place to place the best they can, though rarely happy. And rarely does their whole body laugh, feeling God's poke in the ribs. If you feel tired, dear, my shoulder is soft. I'd be glad to steer for a while.
I love that.
That's that essence in us. That's God as us, with this vast power, this vast ability of manifestation, the ability to bring to us what we really yearn for, what our soul cries out for. And yet we're letting another part of us steer. And that part may go, but I don't deserve all that goodness. It's as if we have this $1 billion bank account and we don't go to the bank, so we can't withdraw it.
What a great way of putting it. I love that. I know everybody now is going, wait a minute. That's a good point. I have $1 billion bank account. Oh, no. You know what I'd love, because you brought up the word love, and this is something I also get a lot of questions about. Can you describe, because I know you say that there is a profound difference between love and like. Can you talk about that, and also maybe give us a better way to understand unconditional love? Because I think that's perfect. A term that is very misunderstood.
Perfect. I'd love to. Just as there's two of us that can steer, the ego and our divine self, there's two of us that thinks it loves. The ego thinks that it loves, It would say, oh, I love men or women with this kind of body type or that kind of hair. Mm-hmm. But that's not really love at all. What that is like. And the ego's version of love, which is like, I like that very strongly, means that it gives me something that I want. It gives me satisfaction. It gives me excitement. It makes me feel good about myself to have a partner that looks like X, Y, or Z. That isn't love. That's like. And you might say, oh, I love chocolate. Again, what you're saying is chocolate gives me something that I want. It's all about what I get and what I want. So like is what the ego does, and it's all about what I get. Love is different. Love is about extension. It's about flow. It's about extending ourselves, giving ourselves. And the spiritual law says what we give, we receive. So when we give love, we receive love. When we give love, which is the God energy, we receive God energy. So the more we can expand our love into the world, the more we receive the goodness of all of creation. So love is this force of God that fulfills us because that's what we're designed to do. That is our very nature. When we say God is love, what we're saying is that our very nature is love. We're designed, we're birthed for love. And if we're not loved and not loving, we are not fulfilled. So, our job is to find out the blocks that we put up to love and to clear those blocks out of the way. What are some of those blocks? Well, we may do some of this work later on, but I'll tell you that the first 7 years of life, the child mind is completely narcissistic. So what does that mean? That means that everything that the child experiences, the child thinks is about him or her. So if we don't have unconditionally loving parents, and that means the second kind of love, where we're not loving based on body or performance or gifts, we're loving based on the soul of the other, the essence of the other. If we don't have parents that can love us in that way, the child mind cannot help but think that we were unlovable. To the child mind, adults, especially at age 2 and 1 and 3, adults are these gods. They're all powerful. They're enormous. They rule our world. They're gods to us. We can't think that these gods don't have the capacity to love. We think, oh, I must not be enough. I must have done something wrong. Well, that gets planted in the subconscious. And until we go back and change it, it rules from the subconscious. Kristen, think of the subconscious as a big basement.
Okay.
Anything that you have put in your basement, even if you put it in 40 years ago, if you don't take it out, is it still there?
Yep.
Yup. So if we plant it in the subconscious, I am not lovable, I am not good enough, I am not pretty enough, I am not handsome enough, blah, 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 to be loved, we still think that, and it becomes our operating software. And it is out picturing as the printout of our life experience until we change it. The incredible thing about the subconscious is it is changeable. It is rewritable. We can go in there and we can find those limiting beliefs. We can clear them out. We can clear out the emotion that makes them feel true. And then we experience a different reality because we create the reality that we generate from within ourselves.
Okay, so how important, obviously, this seems like a silly question now, but how important is healing your old childhood wounds?
I think that it can be the most important of the work. And for many people, they want to say, oh, get over it. That happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. Get over it.
Right.
It doesn't happen by just get over it. It happens by bringing a sufficient amount of love and attention, which is God energy, to that place in the subconscious where the blockage is. I love the term subluxation from chiropractic. Sub meaning less, lux meaning light. There's some place in our subconscious where light, which is God energy, doesn't flow. When we bring the light to the subconscious, it eliminates, clears out the shadow of that illusion, because light eliminates shadow, and it clears out that memory. And then the subconscious starts to allow the truth to flow through it rather than hijack the truth and distort it. Our innate self, our God self, is always trying to attract to us that which we need. It works 24/7 if the subconscious doesn't get in the way. Chopra wrote a beautiful book about this called The Spontaneous Fulfillment of Desire. That wholeness, that divine self, is spontaneously working for our good if we don't get in the way of it.
Can you say that again? That's so great.
The divine self, that core essence of our being, our God nature, is always working. It's magnetizing at every moment our good. If we don't get in the way, it works to bring this good to us spontaneously.
So here's a question that's going to seem really sort of like out there from left field, but I think this is a lot of what you've sort of been saying and hinting at, and so I actually want to ask you flat out. If I asked you, who are we really? What would you say? What would your answer be?
Oh, I love that question. And I lead people through a process based on that in my work, where I keep going, who are you? And they'll come up with, oh, I'm a doctor. Who are you? I'm a man. Who are you? I'm a this. Who are you? I'm a that. Who are you? I'm a this. And I keep saying, let it go and see what comes up next. And then suddenly I'll go, who are you really? And what happens often is that our mind stops dead and there's no answer, because we can't put it into words, because it is unbounded. It's divine. We're God as us. So any answer that you can give for that is only the finger pointing at the moon. It's not the moon. The answer is, I can't answer that, but I know.
I love that. Because I think we've all felt that, and I'm going to go ahead and speak for people listening, because this is an unbelievable group of people, and I think we've probably all felt that feeling of, I can't tell you, I don't have words for it, but I know, I feel it in every fiber of my being. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I'm talking about. Now, there's a short little 2 or 3 minute process that I could do to maybe even give people that experience right now, if you like.
That would be amazing.
It's called the bullseye process. So I'm going to start with a little opening prayer, if that's all right, Kristen, just to sort of set the energy. Is that okay with you?
Great. Do your thing. That's great.
Great. So here goes. All healing we do in the name of God's love. We give thanks for this opportunity to release the binding influence of the past. We call on God and invite the presence of all that is healing and nurturing to facilitate this healing for all present. So be it. And I ask you, if the word God doesn't work for you, please just substitute any word: love, consciousness, being. Whatever word works for you Just use that word. If I use the word God, just substitute. It's all the same to me. I'd like you to imagine, if you will, in this visualization, and even if you're not good at visualizing, just let the words flow through. It will create an effect. You're standing on a platform above a big tub or vat. You're standing on a grating that allows you to release energy out through your feet into the vat. In this case, the energy that I'm going to ask you to release is fear or lack or shame or all three. Any of those words or all three of them, I ask you to think of that energy now as this thick energy within you. Give it a color. Maybe it's red, maybe it's black, maybe whatever. Green. I invite you to allow this energy to drain out your feet. Release those emotions out of your body because they're clogging up your mind. They're distracting you from who you really are. Let them go as if they were liquid. The incredible thing about the subconscious is it isn't very good at discerning real from imagined. So we can use visualization and have a profound effect on the subconscious. Let it drain out. Maybe it's down to your waist. Keep letting these emotions go. Just telling your subconscious what you want to do through visualization, because it speaks visualization better than English. Let that energy, let that liquid drain down to your knees, your ankles, and out your feet. There are stairs that lead you from this platform down to the ground level. Climb down the stairs. Painted on the ground is a big black circle. The vat's in the center of it. Painted around that on the ground is a bigger gray concentric circle. You're going to walk across the black and the gray circle into the light. Now imagine every step that you take across the black circle painted on the ground. Imagine that there are as if angels and guides helping you, and you don't have to do anything but hold the intention to release those emotions. Everything else will be taken care of. Every step across the black, you're getting lighter, freer, more yourself. Now you're crossing the gray circle, which goes from dark to medium to light gray. In the dark gray, there are different angels and guides supporting your intention. Now you're crossing the medium gray, getting lighter again, and now the light gray. With one step, step out of the lightest gray and step into the light at the end of your walk. As you stand in this light, imagine that this light is pure love, unconditional, has nothing to do with your body, your performance, your gifts, your ability to please. It loves the core that is you, that is divine. It is God loving God as you. As you stand in this light, if there is fear or shame or sense of lack, open up as if you're hinged. Let it go. Let it fly out. Let it go to light. Now, as you stand in the light, receiving this light and love, ask yourself, how do I feel now? What do I sense now? Who am I now? Maybe there are no words. Maybe there's expansion. Maybe there's light. Maybe there's peace. If so, this is an experience of your inherent and divine nature, who you are, this brilliant being. This level of being is incredibly powerful. It attracts goodness to it the way a magnet attracts iron filings. As you stand in this light, this level of yourself without your ego having to enter in starts to magnetize your good. This is effortless manifestation, and it's your birthright. Now, to complete this process, we go back to where we left that energy so we can de-identify with it. And you walk in the direction of the vat and the light comes with you. As you cross the grays, they turn to light. As you cross the black on the ground, it turns to light. You go to touch the vat, it disappears. Why? Because the light has come. And we know what shadows do in the light, they disappear. And this leaves you standing in the light as your divine and inherent self activated within you, enlivened within you, as this engine of manifestation, this magnet of good, attracting to you fulfillment, love, joy, affluence. And so we ask that this healing be integrated through all time, space, dimensions, interdimensions, throughout the hologram of life and existence. And so it is.
I love that. That's amazing. Your voice is so calming, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's really wonderful. And thank you for sharing that with us. That was really, really powerful.
My pleasure.
Let me ask you this, because I know self-sabotage comes up a lot.
Yes.
Why is it that what's going on?
Yes.
What's happening?
Perfect. And that will lead into, if we have appropriate amount of time, one other pretty short clearing exercise to reduce.
That would be great. Yeah, everybody hang out because Rick's going to do a very, very amazing clearing exercise with all of us. So he'll answer this question, and then you're welcome to take us right into the exercise. If you choose.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the way the subconscious works is that it works off of the belief system. And it works in two ways to seemingly defeat our soul's purpose. So one way is these wounds from childhood, these beliefs that we generate, are what I call the hurt child within ourselves. So that hurt child that I pointed to didn't get loved in childhood, believes they're not enough, or they were abused, and think therefore that they're not important, that what they want has no value or importance in the world. So that belief gets set up there. We have a separate part in the subconscious, which is, I call the adapted personality. And the adapted comes up with strategies to protect us based on our wounding. So if we have decided that as a result of childhood, that when we're trying to get love or give love, that we get hurt, then it will come up with a strategy of don't feel, because it's trying to protect us. So seen from the outside, if we are in an unfeeling nature, we're going to lock ourselves in the past. We're going to lock ourselves in limitation. We're going to lock ourselves out of love. And it will seem like we're sabotaging relationships when we turn into that non-feeling person. But really, it's not sabotage at all. It's a defense mechanism, because we'd rather feel safe than vulnerable. That defense mechanism will jump in to keep us safe the way it knows how to keep us safe based on our childhood. And so it will turn us into a non-feeling person, and it will look like we're sabotaging. But we're not sabotaging at all. There is a job description in the adapted personality. Once we find that job description, we can actually change it. We can give it a new job description. And part of the work that I do when I work with people one-on-one is I'll find your strategy, and I'll help you develop a strategy that overcomes that to allow the divine self to work through and not be sabotaged, quote unquote, or deflected by the subconscious. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Great. All right, my friends, if you'll just take a couple of deep breaths. And there's a wonderful relaxation exercise that I recommend. As you breathe in, think the thought breath in. As you exhale, think the thought breath out. That keeps your mind focused on what your body is doing, and when mind and body are linked, relaxation results. So take a couple of those breath in, breath outs, and let your body relax, let your mind relax. And a sigh, letting go of any tension. Great, and here we go. I'd like you to think the thought. It's a limiting belief, and when I ask you to think it, you may go, I don't want to think that. I don't want to program my mind with that negative thought. My response is, you have that program in your subconscious, perhaps. You've had it there for 20, 30, 40, 60 years. It's not going to hurt anything. It's going to help to activate that thought so that you can clear it out, because you need to activate that which you're going to release. In Indian philosophy, they say it takes a thorn to remove a thorn. So we're going to activate a limiting belief so we can clear it out of the mind. Now, taking that deep breath, think the thought, who I am is not enough. There's something wrong with me. I really don't deserve what I want. These thoughts will trigger something in your subconscious related to this. You may feel it, you may not. But I can assure you, we all have some level of that misperception. So, that part we're going to call a hurt child within ourselves. And we're going to say that he or she is probably about 3 or 4. We are not that child. That child is just a memory, an emotion. But when we bring our awareness to that bubble of memory and emotion, we feel a vibration of childhood, of littleness, of unimportance. But we're not that. We are the consciousness that stands in the light. So imagine that you're standing in that light that we worked with. This column of light, which is pure love, which you don't have to earn, which you could never lose. Pure love. From this column of light, you look out and you see that little boy or girl at 3 or 4. Can you find within yourself a feeling of love, of compassion for that child? They're thinking they don't deserve. If you look at that child and you ask yourself, does that child deserve to be loved? What's the answer? If you are truly in this place, which I call the loving adult, you will know you're there because your answer will be, of course that child deserves to be loved. If you're not there, go back and stand in the light a little more. And then come back into this process. Go in your mind to that child and tell that child that you have come to love him or her. that you are their unconditionally loving adult. It was never meant to be their parents who could love that child 24/7. Even the best parents couldn't do it 24/7. But you can, because this part of you is divinity in action. This is your divine loving self in action. It is really God loving you through this part that is occurring. As you go to that child with the idea that this child is love-worthy, imagine spending a day with that child, giving that child your attention, your affection, your appreciation, your acceptance, just as she or he is. They don't have to earn it. Imagine the effect of that love. Imagine a week going by. You don't have to imagine what you do. Just feel the caring. Feel the love. That's the power coming through you to a place in your mind where it is not yet. Imagine how that child would feel after a week of being loved unconditionally. How about after a month? Imagine a month of love. How has that child changed? Now imagine that you're there for 6 months, every day, every moment, protecting that child from harm, loving that child. How does that child start to change their sense of themselves? How about after a year and 2 years and 5 years? Maybe this child is 7 or 8. This child now, in this visualization, is going to grow up differently than you did. Follow this child's life. Don't follow your own. Follow this child's trajectory, their path. How is this child at 12 and 14? Not what you were like. What is this child like? How does this child enter into relationships? 16, 18, 20. They know they're lovable because you love them. So they will attract and they will be interested in people who love them. What you're seeing is effortless manifestation. Love in us effortlessly attracts love outside of us. What is this person like at 25? Have they found their way in the world? Have they found their path, their dharma? This love, this essence, this core will seek to express itself perfectly if we don't get in the way at the ego level, at the subconscious level. And it will be attracting to itself, magnetizing learnings and gifts that help it grow, move in the direction of its greatest purpose. What is this person like at 30 and 35? This person will be creating affluence. The word is really important. It's reminiscent of fluent. It means effortless flow. In effortless flow, we attract abundance. In effortless flow, in affluence, we attract, we manifest all that we need. This child is manifesting in the world from their core self. Soul level manifestation. What is this child like at 40? Even if you're not 40. As you describe this child now, you will probably use the words that I've heard over and over, that this being at 40, grown up with love and safety and protection and affluence, this child is self-confident, grounded, loving, capable, abundant, joyful, successful. That's who you are. That's who we are. That's our birthright. That's God acting in us, as us, through us. This is a beautiful demonstration of who we are and how we manifest when we don't get in the way at the subconscious level. Having cleared away this limiting belief that I don't deserve. If you were to ask this grown person at 40, do you think you don't deserve? What would they say? They'd laugh at you. If you would ask them, do you think you're unlovable? Of course not. They'd laugh at you. That's what it feels like when we clear away one of these bubbles of illusion, of misperception, and open the mind up to its true nature. And so we ask that this clearing be integrated through all time, space, dimensions, and interdimensions, throughout the hologram of life and existence, through every part and particle of our being. And so it is.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Again, your voice is just, it's so perfect. So thank you for sharing that. That was truly, I felt transported. I don't know if that's how I was supposed to feel, but that is how I felt.
Hopefully transported to your true self.
That's exactly what it felt like. And now I feel very centered, very clear. So that's great. And I feel completely out of my head. Beautiful. In a good way. That's a good thing. Yeah. So that's really powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I'm really curious, for everybody listening here today, I'm sure it would be amazing if you could share with us a few of the turnarounds that you've seen from people who have applied what you teach and your work.
Gosh, there are so many. I got a chance to work with Louise Hay, and she noticed within a couple of sessions the dramatic change around for her, and she said, you have a remarkable and great gift to share with the world. Got a chance to work with Candace Pert, who was in What the Bleep Do We Know? She was featured in that, and she experienced what she called a truly miraculous healing. I just got an email from someone who identified himself as David from San Francisco, and he used one of the MP3s that I have called Only Everything Fulfills a Child of God. And he didn't have a job, and his health was keeping him away from working. He said all he did was use it 3 times a day for a month, at the end of which he had found just the kind of work that he wanted, that he had been looking for quite a while. And his health was such that it allowed him to fulfill that job. So that was very wonderful to hear. I got another email regarding weight loss from the inside out, which is an MP3, a CD that I make. And what this woman said is it totally changed her relationship with food. I think of one other person who came because of relationship issues with men, and she did one session. Usually people take 3-4 sessions to clear out a deep issue, because there are layers to these issues. But she said, all I did was that one session, and she sent me this note on a wedding invitation, because she said 6 months later I had found the person that I wanted to marry, and we're getting married, and I'd like to invite you to the wedding. So those kind of changes, when we change our belief systems, when we get those blocking energies out of the way, manifestation can happen very dramatically and quite quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's so important that you just said that. It's once we clear this stuff, manifestation is the natural response of the universe. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and I love that that's what you're doing, because what I get really excited about is being able to, help people do this, help people clear whatever's necessary so that they can manifest absolutely everything they desire. I mean, there's really no limit to what you can manifest once you've cleared whatever is blocking it. Beautiful. And I know, obviously, there's so much more to learn from you, and I did ask you to create a special offer for everyone who's listening to the call. Everyone listening, I highly encourage you to access this page for yourself. Simply click on the special offer button that's on this page. And Rick, if you could talk us through what we'll find there, that would be fantastic.
I'd love to. I'm playing off the idea of manifest everything now. Instead of just focusing on manifesting one thing or another, this special offer is an opportunity to work with my whole library of MP3 downloads so that you can literally manifest in all the areas that you would like to manifest in your life. So with all of these downloads, you can attention various areas in your life. There's one that is reparenting ourselves, healing mother-father issues, so that we can attention some of the wounds from childhood and clear them out. There's another one on affluence as a path, releasing our resistances to creating abundance. Another on freedom, releasing unrewarding and addictive behaviors, because the ego is addictive. And in order to free us from those addictive behaviors, we have to get beyond the ego's addiction at the subconscious level. So there are this vast library of opportunities. Each one is an hour session, just like you heard me do here. And how I made these MP3 downloads is that after years and years of working with clients, I found that there were common misperceptions. And these common misperceptions had many layers to them. And these common misperceptions could be cleared by this 1 hour session that will be available for you, and that it could be used many times. You can use it when you're awake or when you're asleep. It works in sleep, but you'll want to listen to it at least once consciously, because there's a teaching function. There's information that really helps us in our growth in the teaching function, as well as the clearing function, which can take place while we're asleep. Each session of about an hour clears about 7 misperceptions. 7 tapes, we could call them, that will be erased from the subconscious so that our inherent nature can shine through and clear this path so that we can walk this path to greatness that is our inherent nature. So I think you'll find them very powerful. They save my clients a lot of time and money, because if people will use these, I won't have to do that particular clearing with people. And then I can use my intuition to track you individually on an individual clearing. And we don't have to do what could be done by these MP3 downloads. So they're very powerful. People have just raved about them over the years, and I am so delighted to be able to share them with you at, I think, a very reasonable price.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing special that you've put together for us. I so appreciate it. And just what you took us through on the call today, that's an indicator of what we are going to receive in this special. And
exactly.
I mean, that alone is so transformative that I know this is just the key to clearing the blocks to our abundance. And what I love that you said, and I'm so glad you said this because it's so in alignment with why I'm doing all of this, is you said in every area of your life, because I think that's the thing, right? That we want to become these full, whole expressions of our magnificence, and that involves so many different areas. I mean, so I love that you're giving us those tools. Everybody, once again, this is an amazing package that we've put together. So go ahead, click on that special offer button, and you'll see for yourself. Definitely go check this out now so you can remove what's blocking you and really step into your greatness. And Rick, you've just been fantastic.
Oh,
I've loved having you on. I think you're great. I love, as I said, your voice through all of that, the clearing and all of that is just, it's calming, but it's energizing at the same time. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it's very powerful. So I appreciate that.
Can I just add one thing that I forgot, dear?
Please, sure.
Oh, it's just the simplest little tool, but it's really powerful. And that is that I've developed something called inner oracle cards. And there are 4 decks face down, and you click on the face down deck and it flips over what issue is up for you. The next deck tells you what your negative tendency is about that issue, and the other two decks tell you what's your affirmation necessary and your subconscious affirmation to clear it, and then it tells you how to do it. And it's available on as an app on smartphones.
Oh, how cool is that? Okay, well, everybody, even more reason to go to that link, which is manifesteverythingnow.com/guide, spelled GUIDE. And Rick, I'm so sorry to say we have to let you go today, but I would love to hear any final words that you want to share with us.
Wow, final word. What comes to mind when I just sort of create a blank space to see what shows up is that we are already everything that we seek. It's not that we have to go create it or find it. It's we have to liberate it. It is within ourselves. We are that, in Indian philosophy, Sat Chit Ananda, consciousness, being, bliss. We are all those things. That's our very nature. We're everything that we're seeking, and we just have to let it shine into the world by opening it up from within ourselves.
I love that. Everybody, listen to Rick. You are everything you seek. It's so true. You are all magnificent. I just love being able to do this. It is one of the greatest joys of my life is to be able to share amazing people like Rick with you and to be able to share time with all of you. It's such a joy. So I thank you all for that. I am eternally grateful. And Rick, thank you so much. You've shared so much with us and your energy has been fantastic. I so appreciate it. And I can't wait till we can do this again.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it, Kristen. Thank you. It was a beautiful interview. I really appreciated your energy.
Thank you so much. And goodbye, everyone.